Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
The man smiled with a hint of affection in his eyes. Upon seeing that the man didn't mind, Harmony smiled shyly, stood with the fans, and took various photos with them. Meanwhile, Ezekiel's phone rang, so he stepped aside to answer it. After Harmony finished taking photos, she turned around but didn't see him, so she started feeling a bit anxious. At that moment, a handsome figure approached her. It was the second male lead, Bird. He looked excited yet a bit shy as he said to Harmony, "Harmony, are you free for lunch tomorrow? I'd like to take you out. I'll be staying here for a week for vacation, and we could have a meal and some coffee." She also had a favorable impression of him. Firstly, he had taken good care of her during their interaction on stage just now. Without his witty cooperation, this promotional event would have been quite stiff. At that moment, Ezekiel finished his call and saw Bird standing beside Harmony after turning around. Bird was quite intimidatingly handsome, but Ezekiel also gave people that feeling too, but in a different way. Ezekiel's suave and humor easily captured women's hearts. Ezekiel suddenly felt a sense of competition. He held his phone, walked over, and wrapped his arm around Harmony's shoulder naturally. She was startled, and when she turned to find that it was Ezekiel, her heart raced. He smiled and said with an imposing presence, not inferior to Bird, "Sorry. Can I have a word with my girlfriend?" The emphasis on the words "my girlfriend" was noticeable. Upon seeing Ezekiel, Bird immediately understood that Harmony was with him and also recognized Ezekiel's identity. He quickly said, "Sorry. I've taken up your girlfriend's time." Harmony waved to him as Ezekiel led her away to the other side. "I need to change backstage," she said. Ezekiel took her backstage. Sarah had already witnessed the scene and approached them with a smile. "Mr. Weiss, you're here." "Sarah, I'm going to change," Harmony said. "Sure. I'll go with you," Sarah replied. "I'll wait here for you." Ezekiel pulled a chair over and sat down. Harmony and Sarah entered the dressing room. Soon, Harmony changed back into her own dress and removed the accessories. Her long hair tumbled down her shoulders, exuding an enchanting charm. On stage, she was a princess, but at this moment, she resembled an elegant fairy, which captivated Ezekiel. Despite the constant flow of elegant and beautiful girls coming and going around him, he seemed to see only her. "Let's have dinner together tonight," Ezekiel said to her. "Sure. It's already past 5 p.m. "I'll treat you to dinner," Harmony replied. Ezekiel smiled and accepted the gesture. "Okay. This meal will be on you." Sarah didn't follow them this time. She felt genuinely happy for Harmony because his actions were evident today. He liked Harmony. "You cooperated well with Bird on stage. Do you like him?" Ezekiel asked directly. Harmony couldn't help feeling a bit flustered. "We were just cooperating for work. We're colleagues." "He's very handsome," he remarked. She replied boldly, "He's not my type." "Oh?" Ezekiel responded with a meaningful glance at her and then narrowed his eyes to look at her. "What type of man do you like?" She blinked and then sized him up. "I like your type." Ezekiel lightly hummed as he was not too pleased. "There's more than one person in the world similar to my type." Harmony chuckled. Now, she could boldly confess. "I like you, Mr. Weiss." Yes, she liked not a man of his type, but him. For the first time, she had confessed to a man so boldly. She felt she had to tell him about her feelings as she feared it might be too late. Ezekiel looked satisfied, and there was a hint of boyish shyness on his handsome face. "When did you start liking me?" he wanted to know. Harmony blushed slightly as she carefully considered and replied, that day when I kissed you in the hotel, I felt like I started to like you." Ezekiel smiled, and his lips were pressed together. "It seems we liked each other at the same time." She looked up and asked, "Did you also start liking me at that time?" You were the first girl to kiss me and the first girl I've ever kissed, Ezekiel said. Harmony's heart raced excitedly. She was the first girl he had kissed? How honored she felt. As they stepped out of the main hall, some reporters were still gathered there. Upon seeing Harmony and Ezekiel, they immediately approached. Miss Mayo, can we have a quick interview? Sorry, I can't do an interview right now. Thank you. Harmony declined politely. Miss Mayo, it's just a few questions. It'll be quick. No. Thank you, Harmony said before grabbing Ezekiel's hand and walking away. However, the reporters surged forward. She knew these journalists could be persistent, so she grabbed Ezekiel's hand and said, "Let's run." With that, she pulled him along, and they started running. They dashed across an empty grassy area, her long hair fluttering in the wind as he ran alongside her. It felt like they were abandoning all worldly concerns and eloping. The reporters and photographers behind couldn't catch up as they were lugging around their equipment. When Harmony stopped, she was breathless. As she turned, she accidentally bumped into the man's arms, and the two of them ended up tightly pressed against each other. Ezekiel was slightly breathless as he looked at her, and both of them couldn't help but laugh. Harmony felt bold as she stretched out her arms, hugged Ezekiel, and rested against his chest for a moment. "May I hug you?" she asked. "Feel free." His chin rested on her shoulder lightly. She hugged him happily. She did not want to let go at that moment, and not ever in this lifetime. Harmony shyly buried her face in his chest until a group of people passed by. Ezekiel continued to hold her while ignoring the stares around them on this lively evening. Upon arriving at the spot where Ezekiel had parked, he was momentarily stunned as he looked at the empty space. "Is your car missing?" Harmony asked quickly. He sighed. "I was in a hurry and didn't park properly. It might have been towed by the traffic police." She felt sorry for him. However, after hearing that he was rushing and hadn't found a parking spot, she wondered if he was in a hurry to come see her. "I'll contact Sarah. She probably hasn't left yet. I'll ask her to send us to the restaurant," Harmony suggested. Ezekiel nodded. "Okay." He then picked up his phone and instructed the bodyguard to handle his car situation. Soon, Sarah sent a driver to pick them up and take them to a quiet restaurant. While the place was expensive, Harmony didn't mind. She wanted to treat him. Their dinner was delightful. She shared some fun anecdotes from her filming experiences, while he spoke of some of the unusual encounters in his daily life. In the blink of an eye, dinner ended. She paid the bill secretly for fear that Ezekiel might try to do so covertly, so it was better for her to make a move first. During Ezekiel's restroom break, he indeed headed toward the reception to pay. However, when he attempted to settle the bill, the server smiled and said, "Miss Mayo has already paid." Ezekiel had no choice but to return to the private room. Harmony caught his eye and looked a bit smug. "What's wrong? Did you want to steal my bill?" "Not tonight. I said I would treat you, so I'm keeping my promise." Ezekiel could only say, "Okay, the next one's on me." Harmony did not refute either, because only that way could they plan for their next meeting. "Have you informed your bodyguard to come and pick you up?" she asked. "I haven't informed them," Ezekiel said, his deep gaze filled with anticipation. "Can I return to your place and rest for a while?" Filled with surprise, Harmony seemed to have not considered rejecting him or being wary of him. She wanted nothing more than for him to go to her home. However, she nodded gracefully on the surface and said, "Of course. My place isn't very far from here, and it's easy to hail a cab here." Ezekiel nodded. "Okay, let's go to your place then." When they exited the restaurant, the outside had already transformed into a bustling and vibrant night view. The distant skyscrapers seemed particularly magnificent and dazzling, while the shops below exuded a lively atmosphere. Harmony enjoyed such a feeling. She held Ezekiel's wrist and urged, "Let's go. I booked a cab. It'll be here soon." Allowing her to hold his hand, Ezekiel walked with her to the side of the road, where a driver stopped before them in a while. Then, Harmony opened the car door, letting Ezekiel get in before she did. While the driver was usually good at his job, too many people were outside at night, so he had to slam on the brakes several times and accelerate suddenly. During a sharp turn, Harmony fell directly into Ezekiel's arms. Ezekiel immediately held her tightly in his embrace. In the dimly lit back seat, the two found themselves squished together, but it felt sweet because they rarely had an opportunity to do so. Therefore, while the driver was speeding, he had inadvertently created a perfect chance for the two in the back to cuddle. Harmony's face must be flushed because she could feel it burning. Although she often had physical contact with male actors during filming, she usually didn't feel anything. However, for some reason, she felt her body suddenly warming up after falling into Ezekiel's embrace. Is it because of the pleasant musky fragrance on him, or is it the captivating masculine scent? At last, the driver managed to get Harmony home in just 15 minutes, which she felt reluctant about. She had never wished that the driver would take a longer route, but this time, she truly wished the driver would have intentionally taken a longer detour. After Harmony paid the fare, the driver couldn't help but ask in surprise, "Are you that actress?" That rendered her slightly embarrassed as she was not expecting to be recognized. She smiled without responding, and the driver left. Seeing Ezekiel tidying his somewhat disheveled shirt and collar on the side, Harmony couldn't help but smile when she recalled she had been clutching his shirt just now. "Do you need my help?" Harmony stood in front of him and asked. Ezekiel curved up his lips. "Sure. Help me tidy up." Harmony straightened out his shirt and offered shyly, "Let's go back to my place." Inside the elevator, Harmony felt her heart racing. The last time they had a meal together was during the day, but inviting him to her home at night felt somehow more flirtatious. As Harmony stepped out of the elevator, she suddenly saw a figure leaning against the wall next to her door. It was Ruben. He was standing there with a bouquet of flowers and a gift in his hands. Upon hearing the elevator arriving, Ruben couldn't help but feel giddy. However, a wave of jealousy surged within him when he saw Harmony walking toward him with another man by her side. "What are you doing here?" Harmony asked angrily. "Harmony, I'm just here to congratulate you." "That's it." Ruben tried to conceal his desire to get back together with Harmony. "That's not necessary. Please leave and don't bother me and my boyfriend. You're spoiling our mood." Harmony retorted and held Ezekiel's wrist, declaring the latter was her boyfriend. In the meantime, Ezekiel also gave Ruben a warning gaze. Ruben's discontent and jealousy made his expression look unpleasant. When he saw Harmony holding Ezekiel's hand, he suddenly had a mad idea to get back at Harmony. "Mr. Weiss, I know you're very wealthy and successful, so you don't lack women to choose from. Why do you need to pick up a woman I dumped?" Ruben's words elevated Ezekiel's status and mocked Harmony at the same time. Harmony looked furious. "Shut up, Ruben. I can do that, but the truth will always be the truth. You're a woman I previously used, and I'm worried Mr. Weiss might find you dirty," Ruben replied. "Ruben, we didn't even." "Stop talking nonsense," Harmony retorted. As Ruben was determined to make Ezekiel misunderstand their relationship, he insisted, "Harmony, have you forgotten? We were at your place, and you seduced me. Later, we spent 3 whole days together in bed." Ruben turned to Ezekiel and said, "Mr. Weiss, are you sure you don't care about that? You can find a woman 100 times better than her. A woman like her is not worthy of you." Harmony's eyes welled up with tears, and she turned to look at Ezekiel, hoping he wouldn't believe Ruben's lies. At the same time, she subconsciously released her grip on Ezekiel's arm. The latter knew she and Ruben were former lovers, and who in this era would believe that she was still a virgin after dating a guy for 5 years? Upon seeing Harmony even refraining from holding Ezekiel's hand, Ruben felt happy inside. He was about to reach his goal. Ezekiel would surely feel disgusted by her. However, a large hand gently held Harmony's waist. Then, she heard Ezekiel's deep and powerful voice. An outsider like you has no right to criticize whether Harmony is worthy of me or not. I like Harmony, regardless of her past. Harmony lifted her head in surprise and looked at Ezekiel with disbelief. From his determined gaze, she felt like she was shrouded and saved by a beam of warm sunshine. Mr. Weiss, does she have anything that's worth liking? She's just an ordinary woman without any talents. Even I don't find her appealing. Reuben couldn't help but mock her with a look of disdain in his eyes. Upon hearing such disrespectful remarks targeted at women, Ezekiel furrowed his eyebrows and stared coldly at Reuben. Superficial men like you are unworthy of even appreciating her beauty. The counterattack silenced Reuben. He grunted before throwing the bouquet to the ground, even stomping on them. Harmony Mayo, I spent a few hundred to buy flowers for you. Get lost and never show up at my house again, or I'll call the police, Harmony warned angrily. Reuben's face turned even gloomier. When he passed by the two, he heard Ezekiel's voice trailing after him. If you don't want to die, then don't disturb her ever again. Reuben suddenly shivered. On ordinary days, he would have retorted if a man had threatened him. However, Ezekiel's voice sent chills down his spine because that man did have such capabilities. With that, Reuben fled to the elevator. The appearance of that scumbag had entirely ruined Harmony's good mood for the night. Moreover, the words he spoke just now had caused her great harm. Even though Ezekiel firmly believed and supported her, she still couldn't recover from how bad Reuben made her feel. Pushing the door open, Harmony headed toward the fridge like a child who had done something wrong. She took out 2 bottles of water and said to Ezekiel, Mr. Weiss, do you want to call your bodyguards and have them come to pick you up? Ezekiel fixed his deep gaze on her, noticing her bad mood. He took the water and replied, I don't feel like leaving yet. It's late. You should head home and rest, Harmony said, looking up at him. Ezekiel sat on her couch. Don't kick me out. I want to stay here. I'm sorry, Harmony apologized instinctively for the displeasing incident with Reuben just now. Putting his water down, Ezekiel approached her and placed both hands on her shoulders while comforting her with his deep voice, Harmony, you didn't do anything wrong, so you don't need to apologize to anyone. Just be yourself and ignore what others say. Those words of comfort were just what Harmony needed at this moment. Tears suddenly filled her eyes as she threw herself into Ezekiel's arms. Right now, she just wanted to cry out loud. She was grateful to have met him and regretted not seeing Reuben's true nature back then. He was a bad person. Ezekiel was like a comforting flame. He gently patted her and gave her warmth and strength. After crying for a while, she understood that she had done nothing wrong and she didn't need to care about Reuben's hurtful words. She just had to be herself. However, her fear was that Ezekiel might have believed in Reuben's lies and that she would lose him. Please don't believe what Reuben said just now. We haven't crossed that line since the day we got together. Harmony found it difficult to continue because it was difficult for her to bring up such matters with the man she liked. Meanwhile, Ezekiel also knew she was not good at explaining such things, so he cupped her face gently and wiped away her tears with his thumb. I trust you. He had already learned about all this since he accidentally answered Reuben's call the other day. Ezekiel was brought up in an open-minded family, so when choosing a woman to be with, he wouldn't care about her past. Instead, he would imagine what their future would be like. Upon hearing that he trusted her, Harmony was so elated that she started shedding tears again. She tightly pressed her lips together, feeling grateful like never before because no one had ever shown her such unconditional trust. Stop crying, or your eyes will swell. Ezekiel grabbed some tissues from the table and gently wiped away her tears. Her eyes looked beautiful whenever she smiled. He wanted to see her happy, not sad. She pursed her lips and smiled. However, the smile in her teary eyes made her look quite pitiful. Suddenly feeling his heart fluttering, Ezekiel couldn't hold back from leaning down to kiss her red, soft lips. That instantly stunned Harmony. Their last kiss was at the hotel, where she had summoned all her courage to kiss him. Unexpectedly, He initiated the kiss this time, rendering her shy and at a loss for how to react. After kissing her, Ezekiel tenderly gazed at her. "Can I stay the night?" They said men craved a woman, but who said that women didn't crave men? At least, Harmony did. "If I say yes, would you think I'm unreserved for allowing a man to stay the night?" She raised her head and asked him in a foolish but adorable way. Ezekiel chuckled. "No, because I'm the man who is going to stay here tonight." Laughing, Harmony threw herself into his arms. Right then, the negative emotions Reuben brought up in her had disappeared entirely. That was because the man before her had a healing presence. It was like he could soothe her sufferings and teach her to become someone with a stable temper. At that moment, Ezekiel's phone rang. He picked it up and walked toward the balcony. "Hello, Miles. My dear Mr. Weiss, where are you now? Why was your car impounded by the traffic police? Are you okay? How am I going to explain things to your parents if something happens to you?" Miles' anxious voice came through the phone. "I'm fine. I'm not going back to the hotel tonight." "Wow. Where will you be staying tonight?" Miles asked from the other end. It was fortunate that Ezekiel was in a good mood. On usual days, Miles would be reprimanded if he dared to inquire about Ezekiel's private life, but today, Ezekiel responded, "Anyway, don't disturb me tonight, no matter what it is. Even if the company goes bankrupt? Then, let it be." Ezekiel answered and hung up the phone. On the other end of the phone, Miles understood that he was not to disturb Ezekiel, even if the world was about to explode. This must be Miss Mayo, the one he fell in love with at first sight. Since Harmony didn't plan for guest rooms when she designed this house, she only had one bedroom in the house. Then, there was the lounge and couch. She was an adult, so she knew where Ezekiel would be sleeping tonight. It was 9:30. She raised her head and saw Ezekiel holding the bottle of water and drinking on the balcony. A beam of light shone upon him. She stared at his sexy jawline and his bobbing Adam's apple as he gulped the water down, and she turned red. Ezekiel had a mysterious air about him. The regal air he exuded would make any woman fall for him. "Why don't you take a bath?" Harmony asked. She had to take care of him. Ezekiel nodded. "Sure. I'll be using the bathroom, then." "Call your assistant and have him take your clothes here," said Harmony. She didn't have any clothes he could wear here, save for a piece of towel. Ezekiel smiled. "I'll tell them to do it tomorrow morning." Harmony was too shy to even look him in the eye. She nodded. "I've warmed up the water. Get in. You can use my towel. I have 2 of them." Ezekiel put the empty bottle down. His throat was parched, so he finished a whole bottle of water in one go. After he went into the bathroom, Harmony felt her heart leaping out of her chest. She was nervous about what was going to happen later, but she was excited and looking forward to it as well. She could even imagine how it would go. Harmony rested her head in her hands, wondering who she should share this delight with, but she couldn't do it. She didn't have the courage to, so she reveled in delight herself. Harmony kept swimming in her thoughts, and 20 minutes went by. She didn't even hear the sound of water stop. When she heard the bathroom door click open, she turned around, and what she saw stunned her. A perfectly sculpted male was standing before her. Even though he had a pink towel around his lower body, it didn't get in the way of his masculine air. Harmony gulped. She was helpless when it came to liking Ezekiel. She fell for his looks, his body, and everything else. Ezekiel smiled at her, happy with the looks of awe she was giving him. As Harmony stared at Ezekiel, he approached her. Harmony's breathing became ragged, but she was captivated, and she stood up to go to him. The air was getting hot and heavy thanks to Ezekiel's existence, and then Harmony smelled the scent of shampoo coming off Ezekiel. "Oh, I haven't bathed." She smiled and took a step back. "I'll have to get showered." Yet, Ezekiel wouldn't let her go. He put his arm around her waist and pulled her into his embrace. Hoarsely, he said, "I don't mind." She was beautiful and smelled nice enough for him. Harmony didn't share his thoughts. Adamantly, she said, "I want to bathe." She was beautiful as she was, but she wanted to remove her makeup before getting close to Ezekiel. He felt really clean after the bath. Ezekiel let her go. While Harmony went to the bedroom to get her pajamas, Ezekiel's eyes were still on her. She was the only thing in his eye. Nothing else around him mattered. Harmony went into the bathroom, holding her chest as her heart raced. She thought she was like someone deserting a battlefield, and that thought amused her. She used to think she would do it with him naturally and elegantly, like a princess, but she was actually panicking. Harmony washed her face and even wanted to wash her hair, but it was too late, so she took a shower instead. Just thinking about the person waiting for her outside made Harmony feel sheepish. Her body was claimed to be perfectly sculpted as well. She was born with it. Her waist was slim and her legs were slender, but she was busty and curvy. Her skin was fair, too. She was what every man dreamed of. After the shower, Harmony took a sky blue towel out of the cabinet. She looked at the pajamas and thought she shouldn't let them get in the way. Just get straight to the point. We're adults now. I've never thought I would get this far, and he helped me a lot, so sleeping with him is fine. He's not married, and neither am I. We won't get into any scandals. A sheepish Harmony opened the door, and Ezekiel was stunned by what he saw. He knew Harmony had a smoking hot body, but when he saw her standing before him wearing nothing but a towel, he was still stunned. He thought that this was God's gift for him. After he took it, he would treasure and protect it well. Harmony approached Ezekiel slowly. To him, she shone bright like a ball of flames. "Should we have something to drink?" Harmony asked. She thought the night was still young. Ezekiel had approached her, and he held her head in his hand. Hoarsely, he chuckled. "I've been waiting for too long, and I'm done with it." He kissed her. It was a gentle kiss at first, but then it turned intense. Somehow, Harmony and he moved to the bedroom, and somehow, everything went dark. She could feel his scent surrounding her, and she couldn't wait for what was going to happen next. The room was dark, and Ezekiel's kiss melted her. He held her slim waist in his hand, and it moved like waves. He held her like she was a treasure. Harmony's mind was blank. All she could feel was Ezekiel's scent. Nothing else registered. The mind-blowing ecstasy captivated her. It was as if this was the most pleasurable thing in the world. Midnight came, and the couple fell asleep in each other's embrace. Harmony didn't even dream that night, as she was too exhausted. All she wanted to do was rest. Silvery moonlight rained into the room. Ezekiel looked at Harmony gently. He leaned down and kissed her lips lovingly. Even after that, he refused to sleep. He held himself up by his elbows, staring at Harmony in admiration. Harmony had no idea that Ezekiel was watching her like she was a precious little baby, and like she was the most beautiful work of art in the world. Harmony was gorgeous when she was asleep. She looked regal and young and perfect. Ezekiel got out of bed. He wanted to use the bathroom, but when he lifted the blanket, he saw a patch of red on the bed. He stopped breathing for a few moments and heaved a sigh, frowning in guilt. "I was going at it a bit too strong earlier." It was her first time. Morning came, and Harmony opened her eyes groggily. The first thing she saw was a healthily tanned pecs. It felt warm and sturdy, and she turned red. Memories of what happened last night came flooding into her head, but her lips curled up. Her eyes shone, as if she was a cat that managed to steal a fish it had always wanted to nibble on. Cheekily, she extended her hand and touched Ezekiel's specs, trying to see how hard they were. Not too long after she started poking them, Ezekiel stared down at her and her hand like a languid, majestic beast that had woken from its slumber. Harmony met his eyes and turned around sheepishly, facing him with her naked back. That just made things more awkward. Ezekiel had woken up completely, and now something else had woken up completely as well. I can't take it anymore," Harmony refused. Ezekiel pulled her into his embrace and chuckled. Sure. But you're staying in bed with me for a little while longer. I can't sleep, said Harmony. How could she, when they were stark naked? Just then, Harmony's phone rang. It was in the lounge. She said, I'll need to take the call. She picked up the towel she had left aside and covered herself with it. Her hair was messy, and her skin glittered under the sun. Ezekiel stared. She's so beautiful, but she doesn't know it. Harmony went and took the call. It was from Sarah. Hey, Sarah. I'm outside your house. What would you want for breakfast? I can get some for you. And brought the script here. We can talk about it. You're outside, Sarah? I don't feel so good. Can we talk about the script later in the afternoon? Unwell? Sarah mused. But it's not your period yet. Are you down with a cold? No, Before Harmony could say anything, Sarah knew what was going on. Don't tell me Mr. Weiss is still at your house. Harmony felt resigned. I can't hide anything from her. She nodded. Yes, he's still asleep. You ate good, girl. Sarah was jealous. Harmony said nothing, but she was red as an apple. She hung up and looked back at the man in the bedroom. Ezekiel was seated on the bed, folding the blanket. His upper body was revealed, and it looked as captivating as ever. She wanted to pounce into his embrace once more. Since Sarah wasn't coming, and Harmony didn't want to do anything all day. Harmony quickly went into the bedroom and threw herself into Ezekiel's arms. Ezekiel was stunned to see her coming in wearing nothing but a towel, but he opened his arms wide and pulled her into his embrace. Harmony wrapped her arms around his neck. This was so blissful, it felt like a dream. Harmony was as gentle as a kitten. Happy, Ezekiel kissed her head. I thought you said you didn't want it anymore, so what's with this? He chuckled. Harmony pulled the blanket back and scurried into his arms. I want to hang around you. Back in a hotel, an elderly man was looking closely at the woman who was led into his room. He was observing her face very closely, as if he was picking an item he wanted to use. This isn't bad. Like the type Mr. Weiss has taken a liking to. From what we know, the celebrity he's been courting is the innocent type. I'm sure he'll be interested in the lady we picked. The elderly man was Derek Gufferson. Weiss Group was his biggest client, but because of a mistake he made in the past, Ezekiel stopped collaborating with him. Now, he wanted to strike a deal with Ezekiel again. Since he wanted to butter Ezekiel up, he had to give him something he liked. His men found out that Ezekiel had taken an interest in a certain female celebrity as of late. That also meant Derek knew what Ezekiel liked. That was why he wanted to get Ezekiel a plaything in the form of a female celebrity. That would make it easier for negotiations next time, since Derek had done Ezekiel a favor. Take this girl to him and get her to approach Ezekiel and gain his attention. Yes. Samantha Leiterman was in the waiting room beside Derek's room. She was a B-lister who played many smaller roles, but she hadn't had her big break. That was why her manager would take jobs for her on the side jobs, like seducing rich boys. This time, Samantha would do the same thing again, but she would gain $1.5 million from this. It was more than what she had gotten in any other deal. Just then, an assistant came into the room and showed Samantha a file. He then handed her a picture. When Samantha saw the man in the picture, she was stunned. This is your target this time, Ms. Leiterman. His name is Ezekiel Weiss, and he's the heir to Dansbury's Weiss Group. All you have to do is sleep with him for a few nights. Samantha was filled with ecstasy. She wouldn't be satisfied with just sleeping with a guy like this for a few nights. She would make him hers and marry him. Then, she would live a life of opulence other than having a handsome husband by her side. Making men mine is what I do best. I'll get it done, don't you worry. The assistant held up another picture. This is Mr. Weiss' girlfriend. You should know her. Samantha picked up the photo. Surprised, she said, Harmony? She's his girlfriend? Looks like our intel is right. Are you good friends with Harmony? Samantha didn't expect Ezekiel's girlfriend to be Harmony. She and Harmony were roommates all through university, and they cared for each other. However, ever since Samantha entered the entertainment industry, her ambition grew. She used all her connections to climb higher, and eventually, she was in a different circle from Harmony. Even though they were in the industry, it had been years since they met. We used to be good friends, but I got busy, and we didn't have the same circle of friends, so we drifted apart. She's just a nameless actress. How did she get to date Mr. Weiss? Samantha was shocked. She had just came back from sleeping with another rich guy abroad, so she had no idea what happened back home. You wouldn't feel guilty stealing your best friend's boyfriend, would you? The assistant asked. Samantha was nonchalant. I've betrayed everything for money. I'd steal my own sister's husband if I had to, let alone my friend's boyfriend. And besides, it's just seducing a guy. I'm better than Harmony at this. I know things she doesn't, and I have more resources and connections than Harmony. Not to mention, they're giving me the chance to snag a great man. No way I'll let this go. Then we're counting on you. Make him yours and hook him up with our boss. Do that, and you make $1.5 million. Sure, you can count on me, said Samantha. She had blocked Harmony's number before, but it was time to unblock her. When Samantha went back to her car and searched for Harmony's name, she was shocked. What? She got so many awards? And she had a role in a big production like The End of Times? There were also pictures of Harmony and Ezekiel on the internet. Seeing Harmony alone with a man like Ezekiel filled Samantha with jealousy. She's not worthy of a guy like Ezekiel. I did everything over all these years to get to where I am, but all you had to do was seduce one man, and you get everything. That afternoon, Ezekiel took Harmony to an upscale restaurant. The active night had left Harmony famished. Ezekiel watched as she gobbled everything down, and his eyes were filled with love. Ezekiel's phone rang. He picked it up and took a look. Yes, Mom? I have to go back to your dad. Do you want to come with me? Ezekiel's mother asked. I'll stay here for a bit, Mom. You go home first. Sure. I'll be going to the airport after I take your grandma back. You spend some time with her. I know, Mom. Ezekiel was reminded of a certain thing he wanted to say, but he held it back. He and Harmony had just started dating. Once they were stable, he would take her to see his family. Harmony saw him hanging up, and she asked, Are you leaving? Ezekiel shook his head. I'll be staying here for a while longer. Harmony didn't ask for much. She would just take every day as it came. After all, she had planned her life out. She would do her best in her career and spend time with the people she loved. She wouldn't force a marriage if it wasn't meant to be. Sure. Tell me if you have to leave. I won't get worried that way, Harmony said seriously. I won't leave. I can't leave. Ezekiel looked at her, his eyes filled with a hidden message, which Harmony knew. She smiled as well. She didn't want him to leave either. That afternoon, Ezekiel took Harmony home. After Harmony got out of the car and saw Ezekiel off, she bought some pills from the nearby pharmacy. She didn't want to get pregnant for the time being, nor did she want to cause any trouble for Ezekiel. While they were enjoying their alone time, she had to keep herself healthy too. As Harmony came back to her neighborhood, someone called out to her. Harmony? It's really you. Surprised, Harmony looked at the girl coming out of the car. She couldn't recognize her. Samantha? It's me. Long time no see. Samantha gave her a big smile. She pulled her shirt up a little. You live here? I just moved here too. You moved here? Harmony was surprised. That's a coincidence. Yeah, I rented a place here yesterday. Which floor are you on? 18th floor of Building 8, Unit 2. What about you? Samantha put on a look of surprise. What? We're on the same floor in the same building? Whoa. Harmony was surprised. That's a coincidence. Don't tell me you rented the place beside mine. My God, this must be fate. We're neighbors now. Samantha smiled. This was her plan. She convinced the landlord of the house beside Harmony's to let her stay for a month. Her plan was to steal Ezekiel from Harmony. Harmony didn't think her friend would get close to her just to take her boyfriend away. She thought this was just a coincidence. When they reached the 18th floor, Samantha asked, "Can I see your place? I just moved here, and it's lonely without friends." "Sure, but my place is a mess. I hope you don't mind." "I won't." Samantha smiled. She walked into Harmony's house. It wasn't messy, and she could see that Harmony's quality of life was high. She then saw a pair of men's slippers on the ground. She pretended not to see it, but her heart leaped with joy. "I knew Mr. Weiss would come to her place. Which means I can show up when he comes." She had other ideas on how to get close to Ezekiel, but the best way was to approach him as Harmony's friend. Men are playboys, and they're reedy too. I might be able to seduce him easily. She had stolen a lot of her friends' boyfriends before, and she came up with a whole thesis for it. No man can resist a woman going after them, and they get more thrill messing with other women in front of their girlfriends. Harmony and Samantha sat down and talked about their lives. They also reminisced about their days at school. The friendship scorned by Samantha was now used as a chip to get closer to Harmony. "I miss our days at school. We were all so young and innocent. And we were the Madonnas of the school. Remember how those boys looked at us when we went around the campus?" Samantha asked. Harmony smiled. "I don't. They looked at us like they were going to eat us," Samantha replied smugly. She didn't think she would lose to Harmony in terms of looks, especially after she had gone through plastic surgery. "I'll leave you to it, Harmony. We'll watch each other's backs from now on, all right?" Samantha got up.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.